Hello, I'm Robin, and I wanted to report back on the last Synth Picnic that we had yesterday in Norwich, and how fabulous and fantastic that was. And a big thank you to everyone who came along and made it a really nice, fun and enjoyable time. Just wanted to share some thoughts about that while it's still fresh in my head, and where we go. Are we going forward? What are we doing now? Is this still a thing? And in my usual completely brutally transparent way, just throwing myself out there to, I don't know, to share my feelings about it, I guess. I mean, it was a great day. It all went according to plan. There were no hiccups, no troubles. I was slightly more streamlined this time I kind of knew what I was doing, knew what I was setting up, although the table that had all the little synthesizers on it was a lot more trouble, because there were some of them that I'd not really used and didn't really know how to get sound out of. So that presented a bit of a challenge in trying to get everything to function. But that is the nature of our diverse range of synthesizers and technology that we have to play with. So in terms of footfall, we had a whole bunch of people come along, which was nice. Probably somewhere between 50 and some other number, I suspect. During the course of the day, it was never packed, but it was also never empty. So people came along and fiddled. There were people who were there pretty much all day. And there were people that I spoke to at depth and length about their thoughts on electronic music and synthesizers and stuff. People just wanted to talk about the technology and how awesome it is to have this space and to do this thing. People were amazed at the idea, largely, and that filled me with a real sense of we're doing something here, and people are warming to it and appreciating it, and maybe this is a cascade, a snowball effect. Over time, this is going to get out there that this is a fantastic place to come and try some synthesizers and be in the company of other synthesizer enthusiasts. It filled me with an enormous sense that this is a good thing. Regardless of its viability, it's a good thing, and people need this. I mean, this is why our synthesizer shows exist. Precisely for this reason, so people can come together and geek out over their chosen hobby, if you like. But more than that, there were people here who were thinking about getting out a studio, or had a friend who they're going to invite next time who's looking at building a studio. This is not just a hobby, it's also at times a way of life for people. It's a profession for people. It's a distraction. It's a way that they build in the happier side of themselves, is by tinkering with patch cables and with synthesizers and with sound, and just the ability and the opportunity to create. It's an immensely wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. And yet music shops are closing. I heard of some others last week that have closed. Again, the music technology industry is in trouble. It's in dire straits, and it's all perhaps going online, which really means for me that something like Synth Picnic is becoming more and more vital, because people are crying out for it. And honestly, I don't really know what the plan is for brands and manufacturers out there who are hoping to sell keyboards and synthesizers and workstations and groove boxes. What's your plan? Just doing it online and having to deal with a constant cycle of people sending things back because it's not what they thought it was. Because they don't get the opportunity to play on them and try things out, which is what Synth Picnic is all about. So there were two particular things that really, really spoke to me, that brought everything sort of together for me, I think, at this particular Synth Picnic. And the first one was my boy Alfie, who came along and helped, which was great. He helped set up and pack down and hung out with us for the day. Now he's a smart chap. He knows what he's doing. He loves his music. He's sort of been teaching himself a bit of guitar, a bit of bass from time to time, but he's not really involved himself in electronics. He's not drawn to my shed to play on electronic boxes or bits and pieces particularly. And yet he sat there on the table where all the little synths were, playing with the boom chick, which would normally be here, but of course it's in a box over there still. But the Create Audio Boom Chick, it's a great little drum machine. I've spent a little bit of time on it. I haven't done a review yet, but it's something that I plan to do in the future. And he sat down with it, and over the course of about half an hour, while I was talking to other people, he was creating these extraordinary beats. Absolutely brilliant. And he doesn't know anything about it. He's never looked at the manual. He's never seen an instructional video. He just sat down with it. He pressed a couple of things and went, oh, that's how that works. And then, oh, that's how that works. And he built up a track, and he was playing with the FM piff shifting on stuff and creating little things that came out, and then playing with the kick drums. He's dropping stuff in, dropping stuff out, and he just played with it solidly. And it was on a speaker, so we could hear this going on, and it was just brilliant, totally brilliant. And that is an example of the accessibility that we have in our industry. He's not having to learn to play the guitar. He's not trying to work out chord shapes. He's just playing with an electronic box that responds to what it is that he asks it to do. And that can be completely accidental or incidental. But working through it, the music, the beats, they were there. They were coming out. They were making themselves known as he interacted with the machine beautifully. It was just amazing. It was just amazing. I was totally gobsmacked by it. And it just underlines to me how important this is, that what we're doing here, it's not just for nerdy old men, middle-aged men, looking for a hobby. It's for flipping everybody. And it's so accessible once you decide that you're going to spend some time digging in. Now, there's another similar situation, which was the wife or partner of someone that I knew who would drop by, and we were chatting, and his partner sat down with one of the little modular systems. I think it was Delia and Wendy, I think, and she plugged in headphones, and she was there 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes, completely transfixed by this box. Sat down, hunched over, twiddling, fiddling. And apparently she's not that interested in what your man does. He's involved in music for a living, and has a modular system and such like, and she's not particularly interested in that. But in this situation, in this environment where she sat down and started to play, she was talking to me afterwards, and she said essentially that she gets it now. She totally gets it. She saw how she could have sat down there for hours fiddling with this thing, creating sounds, having sounds move, modulating stuff. And it was not a simple system. She wasn't sitting down with a monosynth. She was sat down with a modular system that had FM percussion and FM sounds. It had analog sounds. It had a sequencer. It had quantization. It had modulation going on. All of this stuff all patched together, all happening at once. And, we were talking afterwards, saying how they would now probably sit in front of the telly, each with their own box of stuff, just fiddling. And that's amazing, totally amazing. Now, for all I know, she has a degree in electrical engineering and music and everything else, and just knew exactly what was happening just purely by reading the labels. Or she was just a creative, inquisitive, curious person who was fiddling with some modular. And within that context found, the joy in it that we have all found. And that was amazing. And you're not going to get that. Where else are you going to get that? You're not going to get that from an online video. You're not going to get it from someone reviewing a module and saying, this is a great module, look at all these sounds I make. You're not going to get any of that. The only place that occurs is in the meeting of a human being with a machine. In that interaction, that's where it happens. And where can you do that? Where can you do that? There's 1 or 2 shows, synthesizer shows a year. Where else are you going to go? I mean, you may live in a town which has a music shop that has this stuff. I'm looking at you, Bristol, Glasgow, maybe. That's about it. Is that about it? Brighton, maybe. But heck, where else do you go? And it just strikes me that Synth Picnic is so important, potentially so important. This is a slightly mad idea that I'm doing on a shoestring. So this Synth Picnic idea is genuine. It's not just, I know it's just me with a bunch of synths, trying to create a nice time for a community of people, and that's fine. But there's more to it than that. There's a need for this, and it can work. I believe it can work viably, financially, potentially. We have to think differently. We can't think in terms of, I'm going to open a shop, I'm going to need 5 members of staff that I'm going to pay, 20 grand a year, 25 grand a year minimum wage, or something along those sorts of lines. I'm going to need a big warehouse full of gear, I'm then going to have to buy a load of stuff. This is not that model. That can't work. That model is gone, I think, unless you're very, very fortunate. And if you're able to transform a music shop into a place which isn't just selling stuff, it has to be something else. I think that's the only way forward for a music shop now. But this is different. This is on a shoestring, very, very streamlined, very, very light. It's just bringing the opportunity for people to play with stuff in a nice, safe, non-salesy environment. It's not got all the trappings of people trying to make margin and people trying to make sales. It doesn't have any of that. It's an opportunity to play, which you can then go away and hopefully perhaps buy something from an online retailer like you would any other time, but you've had that opportunity to play. So this is a sales floor, but without that element in it. It's a demonstration. It's a protrusion of the online experience into the real world, is what it is. So I'd like to give a big shout out to Signal Sounds up in Glasgow, who are a fantastic shop, modular shop and synthesizer shop, who also are bigger than that. They also distribute a number of modular makers and bring in other synths from other places that wouldn't normally get to be on our shores. And they've been massively supportive, and they sent me the Herbs and Stones synthesizers that I had out, which are super weird, mind-boggling, and I'm going to spend a bit of time this month in trying to rustle up some videos on them to demonstrate them as best I can and get to know them a bit. So that's interesting. But Signal Sounds have kind of latched onto this to see that there is potential in this, in getting something into a community that people can actually play with and try, because there is nowhere in East Anglia where you can try a synthesizer. There just isn't. There is nowhere. And so how do people get to know about these things? How does it happen? You tell me. So they have the foresight to see that this could be a way of generating sales for them, because they need the sales, they need the money to go through. They don't want to be paying me a massive commission. That's not the idea. I'm making a little bit through affiliate links, but that's like 1 or 2%. It's pennies, but it's useful. And what I hope to do to support the Synth Picnic is through the rental of gear. And there's other ideas as well down the line. I mean, for instance, I spoke to a guy who wanted to know, how does he get started in Eurorack? And it's a really great question, and it's a difficult question. And I thought afterwards, after our conversation, that what I should have said is, what you need is my little course. There you go. Here's my little course on Eurorack. Get started. 30 quid, off you go. Or something. I need to have something which I can give to people that supports the Synth Picnic, that's affordable, that's doable, in our current internet-based economy, that I can do that smarter and do that better, and have multiple ways that this sort of thing can be supported. It's all time, it's all there, it's just time and interface and stuff. Black holes, apparently. I was talking black holes and Darwinism with one guy. That was very interesting. He designed synthesizers in the 70s. He has all these old plans and circuit diagrams he drew up years and years ago sitting around his loft somewhere. I told him he really needs to fish those out, because you never know who you're going to run to at a Synth Picnic. So those are some unruly thoughts, a stream of consciousness about how it's going so far. We did our first rental, which was fantastic. We rented out the BARP 2500, based on the ARP 2500, little modular system, quite large modular system for that matter. And guys taking that away for a month, going to play with it and bring it back next month, all being well, and that will be awesome. And that rental has paid for half of the costs involved in that particular Synth Picnic, And that's brilliant, and it's affordable. You know, it's £100, because the venue costs 60 quid. My insurance, public liability insurance, costs about 75 quid. You know, that's the direct expense. You know, we're not counting my hours or the petrol or the parking or the sandwich. You know, I'm not trying to bleed the business dry on my own expenses. You know, I'm investing my sweat equity into this idea just to see how it goes. And I'm quite happy to throw money in there. You know, maybe I don't get to buy a record this month. Instead, I get to pay for the parking. You know, this is the reality of trying to do something on a shoestring, is you have to throw yourself into it and just see what happens. It might not work. Oh, you know, whatever. No Christmas for us this year, kids. Hooray! You know, that kind of thing. Just gotta go and do it. I think people sit around trying to make money all the time. It's nothing ever gets done, or if it gets done, it's over in a flash, you know. Whereas Synth Picnic, I think, could have legs. It could go on. I've had multiple people saying, hey, why don't you come to our town to do it? Yeah, I'd love to, but how does that work exactly? But maybe it would work. Maybe there's scope for me to go to other towns, take my synthesizers or their synthesizers, somebody else's synthesizers, put on a day. Maybe that's a thing that should happen. Maybe I could go to Cambridge, you know, places I could get to relatively closely, you know, maybe Sheffield, maybe Cambridge, maybe Colchester, maybe London, who knows. You know, perhaps what Synth Picnic will become is a series of events, so that every Saturday there's something somewhere, you know, and people could invite the Synth Picnic. Well, I mean, let's call it a van, right? Let's get me a van. Somebody donate me a nice whacking great, you know, fully electric transit van that I could put Synth Picnic on the side to carry everything, and maybe sleep in overnight on the Friday night, set up on the Saturday, and then sleep in it the Saturday night. Maybe. I mean, it could roll into going on tour, you know, taking it to other places. It could be supported by the local synth community who could buy me coffee, put me up for the night or whatever, and they book the room, they do the marketing for it, I turn up, do the thing, maybe in the evening it turns into a gig. Who knows, you know. There's such possibility in the community and in the idea and grabbing hold of this and doing something with it. But what it will probably need is a lot of support going forward. So manufacturers, if you're out there going, I don't really know what to do in how to sell our stuff anymore, then consider this as a possibility. Consider it, you know. What would be the harm? The idea, I mean, what I can offer myself as Molten Music Technology, Molten Modular, whatever you want to call me, as a person, as a reviewer, as a video content YouTuber, synthesizer, fluencer person, you know, if you send me a synthesizer, I can review it. I can do an honest, authentic, open, I can tell you how rubbish it is, review on the channel. I can take it along to the Synth Picnic and people can try it out. It's like yesterday I had the Keystep. The new Keystep Mark II was there from Arturia because I was able to review one. They sent one to me. It was at the Synth Picnic and people played on it and were able to go, oh yeah, no, that's brilliant. Or, oh no, I'm going to keep my old one. When else did they get that opportunity? Where can they go to make that decision? They have to listen to idiots like me on the internet? Come on. This is what it's about. It has to be in people's hands. So if you're a manufacturer, you know, send me a synth. I'll do a review. I'll stick it in the Synth Picnic. And if you're even braver, right, if you leave it with me, I can get it rented out and that can support the Synth Picnic. Now, this is not rentals like radio rentals of old. It's not going to be a big flight cased thing. You know, it's going to cost £25 a day to rent something. No. This is 50 quid a month. Take it away. It's the price of like a PlayStation game. Take it away for a month and bring it back. Got to be affordable, got to be accessible, it's got to be in the community, it's got to be possible, got to think differently. We've not got to, you know, stuff all the get rich quick schemes and ways of doing it. Let's do it slowly, let's do it together, let's help one another, support one another, those of us that can, and get this stuff out there, because the industry needs it. It needs the stuff into people's hands, or the flipping thing is dead, you know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it at the moment. Obviously I'm feeling quite emotional and keen about the whole idea, quite enthusiastic, which is lovely. I'm buoying myself up and declaring myself the saviour of the music technology industry. Yeah, I mean, kinda. It's a good idea, nonetheless, right? So, the next one. I can't believe I've sat here and said all this. Who the hell am I? Who do I think I am? Anyway, so the next one is what? Is the 13th of December, back in Norwich again, you know, because that's where I do it. That's my local town. That's where I am. In Norwich on the 13th. I hope to have some newer synthesizers. I know I've got one here, which I'll be able to bring along, which is cool. It's not new, but it's something that people perhaps haven't had a go on before, in a new form. Ideally for me, small size synthesizers are best, because it's easier literally for me to carry from the car to the thing. You know, practicalities. There's no point having a whacking great, you know, Yamaha Mod X something or other. That ain't gonna help. It's not gonna help. So anyway, Saturday 13th of December, we'll be there. We'll have some new synths to play with, some of the existing stuff. I'll try my best to cycle through bits and pieces. If there's something particular that you want to see, I mean, get in touch. If there's a particular module you'd like to try and I have it, I will bring it along, most certainly. You know, or if you want to rent something, do it. You can just go on the website now. You can go over to the rental page and you can select something and go, sod it, I will rent that from the December 13th until some other date. I don't know what that date is yet, but you can book it and we will set up a fake time for it until I've worked out exactly what date it is in January that you bring it back. But don't worry, but book it first. We'll worry about the details later. It's so easy, and that money will support us. I only need to do 3 or 4 rentals, and we're actually covering our costs, and we can start thinking about some more marketing, or we can think about what else we can do to make it better, and perhaps potentially even pay someone to be there, you know. There's all sorts of possibilities. And the van, if anybody knows someone, you know, perhaps there's a Chinese maker of extraordinary electric vans. Why electric? Well, I mean, why not, you know? Who would like to give us a van to sponsor the event? Let's do that. I mean, let's do that. And then I can take it on tour. I don't know what I'm talking about. But hey, you can ask, can't you? But if you're out there and you're interested in this, you know, check on the website, come along to the next one. I'll generate an event for it and all those sorts of things. You'll be notified. Come along and just play on some synths. If you're a manufacturer, get in touch. Send me your latest synth. I'll review it, stick it on the picnic. People can play with it. People will then buy it, is the idea. Or leave it with me and people can rent it and then buy it. Do you see how this works? See how awesome this is? You know, and you're not having to deal with people trying stuff out through mail order, which is a disaster for everyone, I think. This is the way. I've got to be crazy. We're going to be sitting here in a year's time going, right now, okay, you know those 5 corporations in Alien Earth? One of those will be Synth Picnic, because it will be huge. Yeah, anyway, blah, blah, blah. So that was great. I hope to see you at the next one. I'll keep you updated on it. Lots more to do now. And I'll start making a noise about the next one about a week before. And we'll go from there. See what happens. All right? And in the meantime, go make some tunes.